What's going on, guys? This is Carl with the RacerRed channel. I'm doing the Ridecast episode 3 right now with my dad, who is in front of me on his Beta 200. He's got tons of riding experience, so thought he would be fun to talk to. I don't know if you can hear me very well. I redid my setup, so can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear
okay.
you.
I need to turn my volume up here. Okay. So, what was your first ever motorcycle?
Well, yeah, this is kind of after watching Kayla and Harlan do this, it's a hard act to follow. They did really well.
Well, I think everybody has trouble riding around and talking, but yeah, they did really good.
So yeah, my first motorcycle was a 1967 Yamaha Trailmaster 100, and my dad bought that well, actually from the owner of the ranch that we leased, but he bought it to go check cattle and stuff, and of course that was the doorway, the gateway drug for me. Once I got a taste of that, I didn't want to quit riding.
Well, that's a pretty high performance motorcycle, really, for that day, and that's kind of surprising to me that Grandpa Fay, knowing him, would get you guys a high performance one as opposed to like a Honda 90.
Well, I don't think he knew any better. I think the owner of the ranch, he was an older guy, you know, and he would just trail ride around, and my dad, and you know, the Trailmaster was a trail bike. I mean, but it was the equivalent of a Honda 90, only Yamaha's version. And so, just a two-stroke instead of a four-stroke, but it didn't have any suspension. I mean, it was pretty primitive, and so anyway, yeah, he later on figured out that Honda 90s were way more reliable, and so he started buying Honda 90s, and he bought those the rest of his life, you know. But us kids stuck with the high performance Yamahas, you know. So I think a lot of the trouble he had with the Yamaha was I could get lost out here.
That's okay.
So anyway, was that he didn't know the difference between 2-cycle and 4-cycle oil, and he just figured, you know, you could just dump tractor oil in it, in the auto
tractor
injector.
Oil.
Yeah, Dello 400 or something like that, and he figured that was be good enough. Well, as you can imagine, it has way more ash in it and everything, and it I mean, that poor little bike would foul spark plugs literally every quarter of a mile. So it was it got to really to where he couldn't use it anymore, and then it carboned up. I mean, the piston was hitting the carbon on the cylinder head, and the exhaust port was about as big around as a pencil by the time I got it, and so it didn't go very fast. It probably had a horsepower, you know. So anyway, yeah, it was just, he bought a Honda 90 and it suited him, you know. He just wanted to sit down and
it was a lot more like a tractor to work on, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was, yeah, like yeah, it wasn't high performance at all. So
where did you guys do your riding at? Because you've told me lots of riding stories with my uncle Rick. You guys would go out.
Yeah, Uncle Ricky. Yeah, he's we used to go what they called Kettleman Hills. That was all. I mean, I guess I need to kind of start the story out that, you know, back then there weren't any designated trails.
I was going to get to that, yeah.
So you could ride wherever you wanted to.
Yeah.
And, you know, horses and people all had to, you know, coexist. And so, yeah, David Brown called me here, oh gosh, it's maybe 2 years ago now, but, you know, asking me that. He says, well, you remember where your dad and you used to ride? And I said, well, we rode everywhere. There wasn't designated trails.
Yeah.
So you could ride from one end of California to the other.
Yeah.
If you had fuel. So it was a different time. So yeah, Ricky and I usually, gosh, we'd ride Kettleman Hills, which is out in the valley, probably about, it was the most convenient because you just hit the highway and just go out there.
Looks like there's a fence across the trail here now. Oh no, there's not. Never mind.
Well, I'll go around it.
That would be weird.
Yeah, well.
What was the culture like back then as opposed to now? Because back then I've seen movies like On Any Sunday and those kind of things where everybody's riding a motorcycle. You got old grannies riding them. You got husbands and wives and kids, and they're all riding basically wherever. And now they have it seems like they have a different view to me than they did back then. A lot of people are kind of negative toward them, and they don't want to see them out. If you rode off a designated trail, for example, well, you'd be a criminal.
Yeah, I mean, see, my mind right now looks at this terrain and thinks, do I want to go up here or not? And I'll look for a cow trail or a game trail or a canyon that I think I can go up, and I just want to go up it. I didn't wait for the government to designate it as a route, you know, and you can only go there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just you know, you just you rode it like a horse. I grew up on horses, and you know, you went wherever you could go.
Yeah, I've heard someone kind of recently tell me about Boise and how all the hiking trails in downtown Boise were from a bunch of kids who lined up and did a hill climb on their dirt bikes, and they made all the hiking trails and everything with their dirt bikes.
Well, that's probably true. I mean, that's what happens. And then, you know, when the people who walk don't keep those trails beat out and stuff, then the government says, oh, they're not being used enough, and so we need to close them. So yeah, I mean, the kids would go out there and beat those trails out and stuff, and it was, you know, they'd keep them all wore down and the vegetation, you know, kind of trimmed back just from their handlebars or whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was a lot different. I mean, you could meet people on horses and stuff, and you just pulled over and stopped and let them come by, and you'd have conversations like you were on a horse.
Yeah.
There was no animosity. I think a lot of this is a psyop to get all the users of the land to be fighting each other. It's divide and conquer, I'm sure. And
well, all the user groups are pretty small, so if you get every little tiny group to fight each other, yeah, you have.
Exactly.
Then instead of millions of people, you've only got a couple 100,000 people, and then those guys are all fighting all the other ones.
Exactly. Well, look at what we did here. You know, everybody was, becoming concerned that the BLM was, shutting off all the land here. So we go and meet. Well, you didn't get very many people besides motorcyclists there at that meeting.
Yeah.
So that's not very many people. But everybody involved would be, the hunters, the side by side, everybody that uses the land should have been there, and they weren't. And that's always been the problem. Yeah, I'm not able to talk and ride here. I can see that. So, and I noticed that back in the day too. We tried to get an off-road when the Greenie Sticker Fund, we called it, where they made these off-road parks. When that first started, the state of California was just stealing the money at first. They just absorb it into the budget. Well, they got to where they just decided, oh, you have to, start making these parks. The federal government made them. So I was involved in the first, in the town Paso Robles where we lived, involved in trying to get a park made there. And, oh my gosh, I didn't know there. You talk about people who hate motorcycles, they all came out of the woodwork. And
what year was that?
1975.
Okay.
And not only that, but it was the politicians were of that local politicians were trying to get control of those. I think it was $12 million back then, which is probably about $1 billion nowadays. But yeah, $12 million. They were trying to get a hold of that so they could divvy it out, and 90% of it get lost in their pockets somewhere.
Right.
And that was my first experience of how government really works. And so anyway, yeah, we didn't get the park built. They basically just wouldn't even hear us at the city council meetings and stuff, and all the work people like Joey Brown and Herb Wolf and these people did to try to line all that up. That we had everything lined up with the state. The state guy was in on it. He was good to go with everything we'd done. But the city itself would not allow it, and they wouldn't even hear us. They wouldn't even talk to us. So we had to stop. We just had to let it go. And I guess at the time I didn't realize how I was just a kid myself, And I was 20 something years old, but still I didn't have much experience being ranch kid and stuff. But to go out and get into politics like that was a little eye-opening.
Yeah, you probably thought they were a little bit more willing to hear you out.
Well,
I think it's important to bring this topic up too, because nowadays kids aren't going to understand what it was like even 20 years ago, much less 40 years ago or 50 years ago. The reality that they live in today is all going to be how it is right now, and it's going to get incrementally worse. I just want people to know that when I was a kid riding, it was way more free, way more open.
Oh yeah.
And even at that, it was way more restricted than what you were used to when you were a kid. So it's getting worse and worse.
Even now, I look off across here, I think, do I want to go on top of that hill and go out through the sagebrush here? Yeah. But if I did, some of your Karen viewers would get on there and go, oh my God, you're destroying the earth. Yeah. And for one thing, it's out of ignorance that they say that, because they've been psyoped into believing things that aren't true as far as the earth is concerned and what the earth has gone through. You've always said in your videos, we're riding around on just the destruction of eons.
Right.
And it could be even worse than you ever imagined.
Yeah.
Because some of these mountains could have been the ancient trees. Well, if that's true, then the rubble we're riding on right now, I mean, what is your motorcycle track going to do? I mean, what is it really going to harm?
Yeah.
You know, to go out here and ride wherever you want. You have no impact at all. You have none.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything. And so it's a psyop to control people, to get you to not understand the Earth's systems. And all government agencies are there basically to deceive you. I've found that out over the years as well. They have agendas that they want to trend you toward, like we talk about kids in the future not knowing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason, because the government will trend them towards certain... Look how easy it is to get people to go certain ways if the government makes it look appealing. They'll just go off the rails with no common sense whatsoever.
Well, they've structured our society that way. I think that a lot of it is just tribal behavior and team behavior, and also cult behavior, where know they have basically all these cult teams, and the right is part of that, the left is part of that.
Yes.
And people can't think outside of that. They don't have the ability anymore to think independently of their team.
Well, you're right. There is no right left. It's just one big group of people. Like George Carlin said, it's one big club and we're not in it.
Right.
So, it's the awareness now, I think, for people. I mean, I'm 71 years old now, so what I figured out is question everything. Don't believe anything. Look into it, because the chances are you've been lied to about everything. And when I say everything, I mean it literally.
Yeah.
They have taken and created a matrix for us so they can control us.
Yeah.
And it's going to get even worse, as you know, with AI.
Oh man, yeah.
I can't even.
Well, already, I like to steal something from that podcast I've been watching recently. That Sam Tripoli, he says, they want you to ignore what you hear, see, and the wisdom of your experiences. And they want you to ignore all that and just blindly agree with your team. Oh, that looks a little bit sketchy there.
Yeah, my goggles are fogged up and that doesn't look good.
So, I mean, yeah, I think that even with pretty basic things recently, like that ice shooting, I'm a supporter of ice. I am as far right as you could imagine. I am no longer Republican. I'm far right from Republican. And you can't tell me that shooting was not murder. And now all my friends are up in arms about it, and they're all like, they just don't know how I can think that way. And I'm like, that's because I'm not just falling into line with whatever my side says, because I know there's narratives pushed to you on both sides. If you are a Republican, you'll get all Republican stuff on your Facebook and YouTube or whatever.
There you go.
And if you're a Democrat, you'll get all Democrat stuff.
And it's always to push you toward the way they want you to get pushed. Never let a crisis go to waste, was what old Chuck Schumer said one time, and that's exactly the way they think. If something happens bad, don't let that opportunity go to waste to do, trauma-based mind control on people. And so, it's continual. There's people that get paid a lot of money to do this to us, Carl. I mean, they're being paid a wage to do all kinds of terrible things to us. So yeah, it's that wasn't around when I was a kid either too much. I mean, it's I should say it's ramped up way more over the decades now, but as they get more and more sophisticated, and
yeah, I mean, I just kind of did a thought experiment with this recent ICE shooting of that Renee Good, and I just wanted to experiment with it because I already know what all the people around me are going to say, and if I look at it, I can tell with my eyes, ears, and the wisdom of my experiences that guy circled the car twice. He already went in front of her car. She kindly said, "It's okay, I'm not mad at you." She did not have any malice toward him. And then she calmly and slowly pulled forward and turned right. He stepped to the side of her car, pulled his gun out while she was in reverse.
Yeah, I know.
And shot her through the side of the window at a 45-degree angle from the side. I mean, and people are saying it's not murder. I don't understand.
Well, Carl.
he clearly planned that whole thing.
I know he did, and you being somewhat law enforcement in your careers have looked into that, and you know what you would do,
right?
And what's the decent thing to do? He didn't do that.
No, you don't walk in front of a moving vehicle for one, and especially twice like he did.
Yes, I'm just afraid that ICE is becoming exactly what I feared the left would do with militarizing these certain agencies to come after us eventually. And I think we're seeing the beginnings of that. I've seen videos now where they just pull up alongside people and these ICE agents just jump out and tackle them. Yeah. It's like, really? What country do I live in?
Right.
So, there's, I don't know, Carl, there's so much of that we could, I mean, it's a terrible thing what happened to her.
It's one isolated incident, and it's so sad that it happened to her, but also what it is kind of, it shows you a mentality, a tribal mentality that people take, because where do they think all these memes and Facebook posts and constant inundation with information just supporting ICE is coming from? Like, if they look at their feeds on any social media, it's all on one side. Well, if you dig deeper, there's millions of those getting pushed out. By who? They're not individuals. That's probably the CIA or somebody pushing out stuff so you fight against the other side.
Well, I mean, it's well known that the CIA runs the Mockingbird operation. They have since the 50s. And the head of the CIA said, when all the people know is not true, we'll have done our job. I think everybody should take his words and start reevaluating what they think of everything around them, because it's not just, it's every government agency. You think NASA is telling you the truth? They aren't. They're lying to you about everything. And I saw a guy, he was a basketball player. I think it was on, Jimmy Kimmel or one of those late night. I never watch them, but it was a video somebody else reposted. But this basketball player said, "Well, there was no such thing as dinosaurs," and the whole audience laughed at him.
Yeah.
And even, Jimmy Fallon or whoever it was, laughing at him. And he said, "Well, if I take you to the museum, will you believe it?" And he says, "No." And so he says, "But I'll go." And so they went to this museum. And, here's this big guy walking in there. And so he goes to the, museum, guide person.
Yeah.
And he says, So you see all these skeletons in here. He says, do you believe in dinosaurs now? And he says, no. He says, they're fake. And the guys, everybody started laughing at him. Just like, oh, right, yeah, they're all fake. He says, how many of these are real bones? And he says, well, we can't put real bones on here because they're so rare and valuable and heavy. We couldn't put them, so we have to make, like these plastic, replicas of them. And we have people overseas make these things, like China or wherever. And he says, well, so how much are these skeletons? Well, I got right where I don't want to be in this sandy draw here. So he says, how much of these skeletons are actually bone? The guy says, none. And everybody's going, uh-oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
And so as it went on, he says, well, can I see the real bones? Because you have the bone somewhere. And the guy says, well, we've never found a complete skeleton. We have to kind of basically make things up how we think it should have been.
See, I've heard this too. They don't have complete sets. They just kind of guess how things went.
Okay, so you don't know what those bones went to.
Yeah.
And they could have been from anything. Other, even giant human beings. And so anyway, by the end of that, everybody was laughing at the museum guy because he was just stumbling and going around in circles trying to use circular reasoning on this guy, and the guy wasn't having any of it. He just says, no, I don't believe it. These are all fake. And he's stuck with his guns. And then he says, well, the Bible says this wasn't. And so, and he just kept sticking with it. And by God, he made his point.
Well, the Bible talks about dinosaurs, doesn't it?
No, not really. Leviathan and the behemoth.
Yeah, Leviathan, that's the word.
But we don't know what those were. So, we're just guessing. I mean, but like you said, you're not. All these bones are found jumbled up in piles where they've been buried with sediment, with mud, and fossilized. And so we really don't know what a lot of these... I hate this freaking sand.
Yeah, you're always on edge in the sand. You're always having to adjust. The bike's never going straight.
Okay, Karens, I don't want to hear about me riding out here. It's for my own safety.
You just killed a plant. I saw you run over a plant.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's stuff like that. I mean, you could go on and on with that. I mean, we need to read books like, because we read the King James Bible, we think, well, King James, made this, interpreted or transferred this to English, Well, he didn't really. And plus, King James was a Scottish Freemason, and he wanted the Bible to say a certain thing and to have certain books in it, so they took out the Book of Enoch and these other things that explained the earth. And explain the systems of the earth, and explain about the animals and everything else. I mean, Enoch was there. Enoch was there, and that was Noah's great-great-grandpa. And for that not to be put in the Bible alone, we got 66 books in the Bible. How convenient. And the Ethiopian Bible has something like 83. Yeah. So there's some other writings by ancient people that most people don't know anything about. And another thing, this Scottish Freemason makes you look at, start inspecting the Freemasons a little more carefully, and their part in hiding everything from us. Who are they? Where are they in our government?
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can just go on and on. But there's rabbit trails there too.
Once you get to that level, then it's like you're not supposed to know, and you probably won't ever really know.
No. And what good does it do us to know? You know, like I told you last night, you know, you had 80% of the Earth's wealth, the owners of the 80% of the Earth's wealth, boy, the Earth's wealth's ownership show up at that Bartholomew Island.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 200 yachts showed up there of the elites.
Yeah.
Well, do you really want to know what went on there? I guarantee.
Yeah, and it's like we were saying, it's like even if you do find out what's going on there, what are you going to do with that information at that point?
And what are they going to do to you if you do find out? It just shows you how much we actually count in all of this to these other people. But you know, that's only 20 miles or something from Jeffrey Epstein's island. So like we said,
how convenient.
How convenient, you know. And so anyway, it's just, you know, at some point it almost doesn't matter.
It's like I was saying
kind of stuff
before with the train analogy. It's like there's a conductor at the front, we're at the back in a cart, and you can either make the best of being in that cart, or you can get into politics, make your life work. And even then, if you want to get to the front, it's required of you to be corrupted, so you're not going to get to the front.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see a lot of these people still speaking of getting into a cult, still sticking with Donald Trump when he promised no more wars. He's going to stop every war. He's going to do this and that.
Oh, yeah, but it's justifiable when it's Trump because we're on teams here.
Yeah, I know. And so all of a sudden they can't switch teams. And there's some really influential people that are that mindset where they cannot switch teams. And I don't know, Carl, there's also people who can't or won't think out of a box at all. I mean, it either threatens their livelihood or just maybe they're brainwashed.
Yeah.
They cannot think. They won't even debate you on things. And they won't even discuss something if you bring it up. That anything that's out of the narrative, they're
narrative, right?
They're incapable of even considering it, and that is that's a brainwashed person right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, and subconsciously they know a lot of it is untrue, but they choose this family and this unity over truth. They don't value truth enough to break free of their team. This affects us in like the smallest of ways. I mean, I don't want to bash my family here, but I had a situation where I got some eggnog out, and I was wanting me some eggnog, and it was, I smelled it, and it smelled horrid, like disgusting, and it was not that out of date. And I was like, well, I'm going to go pour this out, and Kayla said, that's not bad. She's like, that's not even more than a few days expired. And she smelled it, and she's like, it doesn't even smell bad. And she's like, go ask Lucy. Lucy heard our whole conversation, and so Lucy says, oh no, not bad.
Oh God.
And so I was like, okay, well, you guys can drink this because it's clearly rotten. And Kayla takes a swig of it, and she gags, and she's like, oh.
Well,
and it's not, I'm not trying to be mean to my family here. It's just there's a family dynamic where people will choose, and you can predict that they will choose a side no matter what.
I know. And when you have a blended family such as yours, there's always going to be you know, a separation between hers and yours, always.
Yeah.
As you know from when you were a kid too.
Yeah.
And it's just something we have to deal with if we remarry. And you know, it's hard to discipline kids that aren't your actual own. You can say, oh, I adopted them, or they're part of my family. No, because they'll always throw in your face, you're not my dad.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not my mom. Anytime you really start pushing them.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
that's always going to happen. So, I don't know.
But
guess
that just kind of speaks to a bigger picture, not just in a family, but as a society. When you are Republican, now you're part of the Republican family.
Well, yeah, you can go, take it to the macro level, yes, and then there you got it. And it's the same human response, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And when you see a brightly blue-haired, which he wasn't, Renee Good wasn't, but I'm just saying, if you see a bright blue-haired girl with 3 nose rings getting beaten to death by an officer unjustifiably or something, are you going to be there for her because she's a human, or are you just going to choose your side because she has blue hair and nose rings all over? And
well, you know my answer, and you know your answer, because we're actually human beings. So we would step in and probably almost fight to the death to protect her. And but you know, I'm sure these elites don't have any problem with mass murdering thousands and millions of us. And I won't mention how, because you're on YouTube, but there's just that same guy that said never let a crisis go to waste says silent wars for silent weapons for silent wars.
Right.
Okay. So you don't have to have a gun that makes noise. You can use silent things.
Yeah.
You know, in our food and stuff. So anyway, but I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah, it's a wild world that we live in, and it all goes back to that train analogy. You gotta find a way to be happy inside the matrix, or dedicate your life to politics and make sure that you can't be corrupted. But I think that if you can't be corrupted, that you can only get to level like 50 out of 100. They're not going to let you all the way to the top.
They're not going to let you.
Not without you going to some crazy club where you do something disgusting in front of them.
Get to the 33 degree level, you know, then you can. Then you can.
Yeah.
So we're never going to do that, because we're not going to do disgusting things like that. And we can't even imagine what's done. Just what we know is bad enough that they do. So anyway,
that's I told Harlan that, you know, I used to think that my conspiracy mind ended at the moon landing. I was like, that can't be that hard to do. and then I start looking into it. Well, Joe Rogan said he was kind of on the fence whether they did it or not, and he starts explaining why, and I'm like, wait a minute. So there's pictures that are known to be fake?
Yeah.
And then there's video that is also known to be fake.
Well,
and then you start going deeper, and it's like they can't get through the radiation belt even today. There's no technology that they can do that with. and then he had you mean to tell me they had a live phone call with the president while they're on the moon? What did they do that with exactly?
But it was a red phone, Carl.
Oh, red phone.
You're supposed to believe it.
Yeah. It's like, and if you don't believe me, if you just think I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist and you don't want to talk about nuance, and you don't have the education to talk to me about it, then why are you judging me for being a so-called conspiracy theorist? If you don't have good information to talk to me with, then why even bring it up? Like, most people will be like, oh, you don't believe in the moon landing? Har, 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 you can't. Like, okay, let's talk about it then.
Yeah, well, okay, for anybody who wants to go beyond the moon landing, then start thinking how NASA was formed. There was an Operation Paperclip.
Oh, that's horrible, yeah.
Okay, we brought our government, I don't know who in government, decided, or whether it was the controllers at the top, just said, you will take these Nazis.
Yeah.
But, you know, we hung a few of the generals and military people for doing what they did. But the masterminds, the mad scientists we brought here.
Now they own Bayer. Now they own all their pharmaceutical companies.
Okay, well, you just keep going down that road, don't you? So
Yeah.
we are, the Nazis are very powerful. And they're Freemasons. So, but NASA was created by Werner von Braun and Walt Disney. And so you can take things from there. This was never about exploring space or anything. It was about to trick you in some way. And if they start out with that basis, everybody better start reevaluating how they think of everything around us. It's not like you think.
And you could take that different routes too. Like,
sure.
I mean, you gotta think also they wanted to prove military superiority when compared to Russia. So they were trying to prove that they are better than Russia, and they would have done anything to do that.
Well, you could say that about the moon landing, but
yeah,
there's been other things that have gone on. I mean, the moon landing was just one thing.
Right.
But they have deceived us about, they've lied to us about everything, and they keep backing up. Like you talk about the Van Allen belt.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. You can't get beyond 73 miles above us right here. There's something above us. And they're saying, and conveniently, that's 70 miles up is what NASA calls low Earth orbit. So they know they can't get out of here. This is a contained place that we live in. And so then you can take it from there and just start thinking these people are deceiving us about what? And this Earth, you know, it may be not what I think it is. Maybe what we're riding on here is just the rubble of
that kind of reminds me of Men in Black, where there's aliens at the beginning playing marbles with all the universes.
Well, except they're all little balls. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you don't know how big we are. We aren't very big. You know, if that was a tree, that butte out there, well then, what were the beans sizes? If you compare us to a modern day tree, what were the beans sizes at that point? You know,
Yeah.
Enoch said 450 feet, but I think there was beings even larger than that, and I think they were petrified very quickly. I've been watching a YouTube called King for a Day, and it shows all these faces all over the planet on these sides of mountains and stuff, and on these rocks, and they can't all be carved by people. You know, it's at some point there's hundreds and thousands of them. And they're all different. They're all different, and to me, it looks like after the flood, everything got petrified, or right before the flood or something, and then everything was covered with sediment. Like this sediment we're riding on right now could have just filled in all the gaps, and all we're seeing is the broken off trees. Enoch says the angels cut the trees down. I wasn't there, I don't know, but you know, I mean, you look at some of these buttes, they're cut off flush, and you know, I mean, I don't know, it gives you a different way of looking at things. And so I guess that's where I started out with when you asked me, about riding when I was a kid. People understood that this Earth didn't need really protecting particularly. I mean, granted, we don't want to be dumping our trash on each other and polluting the air and all this stuff. We want to do the best we can to use our resources wisely and stuff. But they've taken that to the nth degree, and it's become
anti-human.
It's a transhumanist thing to where. Yeah. Oh wow!
This is Silver City Road.
Silver City Road, yeah. Well, I've always wanted to get out here. One way to do it. But yeah, I mean, as a kid, we didn't fret over a knobby mark in the dirt. I mean, it was so ridiculous. We knew there had been a flood. We knew everything had been moved around. There was fossils all over that ranch. My God, we had seashells go up on top of the hills, and just everything was a mess. There was catastrophic something happened, and us riding our little YL2C hundreds around wasn't going to have an impact. We had no effect.
Yeah. Now, granted, there are 450 four-strokes now, and if you didn't have any rules, you and I know some people when I was growing up that would just they would just blast red line through the parking lot, blast up the mountain, just roosting everywhere. I mean,
you're right. Safety-wise, there's an issue of people not being respectful of others. And I get that. There's going to be that. But at some point, do we shut everything down to everybody because a couple of people go rogue? I don't think so.
Yeah, I just don't know how you deal with the 1 out of 100 people.
Freedom is not safe, like you've always said. Freedom is not safe. We all, there's going to be an idiot here and there that are going to use their cars as a weapon.
Yeah.
And there's going to be an idiot here and there that takes a 450 and goes straight up a mountain somewhere. Well, you don't want that. But I don't know. As far as hurting anything, it's not hurting anything.
Right.
Hey, what's he doing? I mean, he can't rearrange the aftermath of the devastation that's happened to this place eons before we were.
Yeah, I agree there for sure. But it does get annoying when you make a trail and then somebody just goes up with a 450 and demolishes your trail and makes it unrideable. Then it's like, well, what? I mean, do we just allow it? I don't know.
Well, you go down that road, it's like, once you take that step in that control mode, the government will go to the absolute absurd.
Yeah.
Because they'll see a way to control people and get more money. And that's what they do. And the elites are that. I mean, the government doesn't do anything. The elites don't tell them to. So, wow. I don't know, Carl. I remember the first time I saw something, because growing up on the ranch, we just kind of rode around. We'd ride up on the hills, we'd check the cows, the grass, the water, we just rode anywhere on the cow trails usually. And by the way, that little Yamaha 100 was way better at cow trails than this Beta at walking speed.
Don't tell Beta that.
Well, I'm just kind of being dumb, but it's
but there's truth to it. You can go really slow with those things and just have your feet out.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a bicycle, but with a motor.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, but the first time I saw anybody really abuse things was when I was still on that 100 Trailmaster. Your grandpa and I, he always liked to go up in the Sierra Mountains, and he liked to fish and hunt. We'd go
Which would be illegal now, right?
It's all illegal now.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few trails governments left open, but for the most part, everywhere we ever rode is off limits. It's too fragile, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
You were talking about it being abused, and a guy.
Yeah, it was. I guess we were. You know, because I mean, you can imagine we're on a Honda 90, little 100 Trailmaster, and we're just putting along, you know. But I could hear as we were leaving what we called the Kern Flats. It was kind of where the two rivers converge, the Little Kern and the Big Kern, and the main Kern. And I could hear way up in the distance that there was somebody, a two-stroke motor, just screaming wide open, and then it would die. And then scream wide open, and then it would die. And then it would scream wide open and die. And this went on and on and on.
Yeah.
Well, I could hear it over the sound of my motorcycle. So, I mean, it was loud. And it was like a mile ahead of me. So, when I got up to it, you know, I'm putting along on the designated trail, you know, kind of up through there. And here's this guy at that time, it was probably 1969. He's got a Yamaha 250 with a Git kit, no spark arrestor, nothing. And he's going straight up the trail, up the mountain, across the trail. So he's just blowing up straight up the mountain. Yeah. And then it would die because it was high altitude. He didn't have it jetted right, but it made lots of horsepower for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it would just dig a hole up the side of the mountain. Well, you know, somebody like that ought to be ashamed of themselves, and there's always going to be somebody like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you can't punish everybody for the actions of just the 1% like that.
Well, if you start down that road of punishing everybody, well, pretty soon it's a graveyard spiral into we aren't going to be able to do anything. Yeah. They'll find a reason to take everything from us, all our liberties, at some point. So, like the gun issue and everything, you can sit there and say, oh, this person's life could have been saved if we could have kept this gun out of the hands of this person. He was a lunatic. It's part of society, and I hate to tell everybody, but we can't disarm ourselves because of that. We need the right to defend ourselves and have freedom like that. That guy should have been locked up. And a lot of these cases, you'll notice that some government agency, usually the FBI, is fully aware of these people and even gives them the weapons. So there you go. And so you know, it's just you know.
Unfortunately, I don't. Even with agencies like the Forest Service or BLM, they go out and decide they're going to close a big section of land off, and they call it a travel management plan.
Sure.
And the decisions they make are based off of access and travel, and they use all these terms that are based off of like basically the same terms you would use for a highway vehicle.
Sure.
And they use that. I mean, they know that we're not out here to travel. We're not traveling here. We're going in circles, people. And our freedom is to take these different routes for recreation, for fun.
Sure.
And I've only seen a few, like Forest Service or BLM, out in the wild. And I have seen some people working on the trail before up in the mountains, but I also, like last year, I saw enforcement agents just riding around the mountains. I'm like, why can't they use their budget to have people work on the trails and make them better? I mean, why not expand our trails? I mean, it could be if you're gonna use your government agency using the funds from our off-road stickers to do something, then don't punish us. Like, go out there and make our trails awesome.
Well, and you can take that to another level, Carl. Why aren't our roads, our interstates, our transportation awesome? Because, as you saw with the government exposure to all the, there's tens of trillions, well, more, over the last just 5 years prior, of the government stealing this tax dollars, and it just went into black holes, or politicians' pockets. Can you imagine the infrastructure our country would have if that money hadn't been stolen?
Yeah.
You know, so we sit here and they say, oh, we need more money. Oh, really? You know, you just stole, you know, $364 billion and put it into 40 nonprofits 2 months before Trump got in there. I think, you know, you need to be in prison. But no one's being even put in prison. And I'm just really disheartened.
Yeah, and pretty much no matter what direction you look, that is the case. And if you go to work for one of those agencies and you see that and you say something and you get to the point where you're taking it to court, they'll hire a hitman and you're as good as dead. I saw that in the state of Oregon in the 80s. There was a guy that was exposing corruption, and I saw the corruption while I was there, but you kept your mouth shut because you don't want to die.
Absolutely. And yes, that's right. It's a fascist system, really, because corporations control our government. Right. And, you know, government doesn't do anything. I mean, Trump's not going to do anything. Some
the guy
corporation, Bezos,
to the court,
Palatine.
Yeah. But that guy made it to the court steps. He was walking up the court steps, and he got hit by a hitman and murdered.
Okay.
And, and that was before he could do anything. And they'll make sure that happens.
Yeah, I know. It's, oh, Carl, yeah, you just, oh, that's so depressing. You know, I want to go back to my Wild 2C there.
Yeah, it's a different world today, but I don't think it was all that innocent even when you were a kid. You probably just didn't see a lot of it, and it probably wasn't as visible to you as it is now with all the social media and video that we have nowadays.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, at that point, the government had total control of what we saw through the newspapers, pretty much. I mean, I shouldn't say that, because the newspapers were individually owned, a lot of them back then, and they did have their, you know, some of them were legit.
Yeah.
So.
And nowadays we do have podcasts, and I think that's the new credible news source. That's the only one that I've been able to find.
I was just going to say that. I think these podcasts and this online stuff is the only credible stuff we have now. Everything else has been captured, and it's been gained by the the system. So if you want to find out anything, you don't go ask the government about UFOs, right?
Right.
And you just keep going down the, don't ask them what foods you should eat, right? Because it's exactly opposite of what you should eat. Yeah. As you just discovered. Right. And so, it just, I'm sorry.
We're at the point now where I'm not sure exactly how to get back. We're just way out here. I
was way out here this morning too.
Oh, were you?
Well, maybe not quite this far, but I'm heading back west now, and I figured
eventually we'll get around there.
My farm kid instincts are kicking in. That I'm following the sun here.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun this morning, just putting along and not really going anywhere in particular, and not going fast, just putting along and just going kind of exploring. And I got so far out there, I was when I got your text, I kind of was kind of stunned at how far I was out. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get there in an hour.
Yeah.
So anyway, So
I see that mining deal over there.
yeah.
So what was racing like in the 70s? Did you race? What kind of racing did you do? I know you really liked flat track or short track, right?
Well, flat track, yeah.
Flat track, okay.
Dirt, well, it was dirt track, actually.
I don't really know the difference. I know
know.
short track's like an eighth mile, isn't it? Or
Well, yeah, eighth mile, and then you had, or quarter mile, and then you had half miles and miles. I didn't ever race a mile because I was just sportsman. And so, could you imagine the IT on a mile?
I was about to say, you're going to need some serious horsepower for a mile.
No, you had to have, and you had to be at the pro level. These guys were going 120, 130 miles an hour down the straights. And I don't know, even on my 250, I think maybe 80 down the straight on a half mile. So anyway, it just, Joey Brown was, we were pretty good friends overall, and he constantly was doing something different at that shop. He would put up flyers for this and that and the other thing all the time, and he didn't care what it was. I mean, if it was a Grand Prix race or something, which was a natural terrain, what we'd call motocross now, sort of. It was a closed 2-mile course or something. Yeah. And we did motocross, but his main thing was dirt track. And it was kind of mine too. I really enjoyed it. It was just the adrenaline rush. Got to where that's all I wanted to do. It kind of ruins you for trail riding, because all I want to do is just get on that start line and throw it sideways in that first corner. That's all I thought about, Because as a kid, your grandpa wouldn't allow that. We weren't allowed to race.
Yeah. So
when I got to be married and kind of settled down a little bit, I just kind of went berserk doing it. I thought,
So how old were you when you first met Joey Brown and then started racing?
I think, of course, Joey I met during the Yamaha Trailmaster ownership, since I didn't know how to make it run.
Yeah.
I was just 12 years old or 11 or whatever I was.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so, I couldn't even touch the ground on it.
And so you were going in there alone? Like you would just ride there or walk there?
Oh,
or
no.
No,
I didn't go in. My dad took us by there. I don't really know why he did some of the stuff he did as far as motorcycles, because
it seems awfully supportive.
It does, yet he wasn't. He hated motorcycles, yet he would let me buy motorcycles and stuff. So it was a kind of a weird thing. But anyway, we went into to Brown Cycles, and Joey's dad. I mean, this guy was just one of a kind. I mean, he was just, this big, tall guy, and he had this real baritone voice and stuff. And boy, when he talked, you listened, because he was telling you about how to work on your motorcycles all the time, or how to ride constantly. And man, I'll tell you what, Joey may not have liked to listen to his own dad, because he was kind of a little shit, but I listened to every word he said. I remember exactly what he says even now. Never leave bolts untight when you're putting the engine together. Always tighten them. There's a reason, because you'll forget it's loose. So but he told us about 2-cycle oil, and and then he helped me rebuild. Didn't help me, but he told me how to rebuild the engines and the engine on that. And I guess the big revelation too was reading Dirt Bike magazine, because in 1970 the first issue came out, and they had an article in there on how to decarbonize your motorcycle engine.
Oh, that's so convenient.
It was right on time. And since I was burning tractor oil. And
Wow, I guess I didn't realize that you were hanging out with Joey Brown at such a young age. I thought you were married and in your 20s or something.
No, I knew, we weren't friends because he was racing then. And he was always off racing. And then he got drafted to go to a useless war in Vietnam, of course. Yeah. And anyway, so he kind of was gone for a couple years there. Well, I hope we didn't get on... You didn't see any private property signs, did you?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, he was 8 years older than I am. Or was, okay. You know, so... yeah, he was in his prime, and he was going fast. I remember reading about him in Dirt Bike Magazine. In fact, I have that issue somewhere where they showed Joey with the checkered flag.
Oh, wow.
At the Houston Astrodome. And man, I've got us into a dead end here.
There's a trail there on the left.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah,
anyway, it showed him carrying that flag, and the caption was that, "Doesn't this guy know he's riding a trail bike?" and Joey did. He always tried to, ride. He was kind of the underdog. He was going to win no matter what.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what bike. He just felt like, he's always trying to prove it wasn't just the bike, it was the rider.
Yeah.
And so he, and boy, was he a good rider. I mean, he was just incredible. But that's pretty much his whole life. Your dad owns the Yamaha dealership,
Yeah, he, the Yamaha dealership, and it sounds like he was kind of a little rough around the edges, or at least he just didn't put up with anybody's crap. He wasn't gonna go by the rules, and so that kind of costed him some team stuff, it sounds like. But yeah, he's like one of those guys that would be like world famous probably if he would have like followed the rules.
he's just like Kenny Roberts.
Yeah.
He acts just like Kenny Roberts. You look at Kenny Roberts, and Kenny Roberts has that same attitude.
Yeah.
Just screw you. This is the way it is, And so that was the way Joey was. And so yeah, it was. I don't know. A lot of people got put off by him, but I got along with him really well. I guess because I was, I just didn't challenge him on anything. I knew he was the best, and that was that,
Yeah.
And I didn't challenge him. I wasn't a threat, and I liked him. He was just a good guy, and he was very ethical.
Yeah.
He always he'd take the kids out to the desert and stuff, and he would try to keep everybody in order.
So when you went on your first race, was it with Joey?
Yes. Well, actually, that's a story in itself, because Ricky and I had talked about racing, and of course at that time I was riding a little 125 enduro Yamaha, which I thought about riding today, but I didn't want to embarrass you.
I don't get embarrassed.
We wouldn't have been very far from camp if I had. But anyway,
bring two of them. I'd ride one.
Yeah, I should have. Huh? But yeah, just where was I here?
Oh, you were talking about your first race.
Oh yeah, first race. Yeah. So Ricky and I, that's where I got off, is talking about Ricky. Ricky would hang out with a lot of the racers. So he would hang out with Brett Butterfield, a lot of these guys that were really good. I mean, Brett, another guy who could have been in the top 5 nationally, easy. I mean, Joey told me, he says, gosh, if he just put his mind to it. But it came so easy for him, he didn't. He just would do other things. You just get bored winning, and I'd have given anything to have that talent. But, so I was kind of an more average type rider. But anyway, we went to Kettleman City one day, in the hills, I should say. And we were out riding as usual, and Ricky says, man, I went to the races last night, and these guys on that dirt track, there were sparks coming off their steel shoes. Man, oh man, it was the most awesome thing.
Oh, I could imagine Uncle Ricky saying that because he's such an animated guy.
Oh my gosh, he was all in.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any bikes. Or I may have just bought the IT. And it's, it's far from a dirt tracker. And he just bought, I think, that TT 500. So
yeah, you're talking about a 1977 IT 175.
Yes.
Yamaha.
Yeah, I should clarify, I guess. And but those 500s were the bike to have on dirt track. They just hooked up like crazy, and those guys, even the professionals used them. So on the short tracks. And so Ricky's, he goes on, and I said, God, I hate to tell on myself, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. But I kept telling him, I said, Ricky, we'd get divorced if if we went racing.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
And I said we'd have no home to come back to if we went racing. He says, who cares? He says, we just won't tell them. We'll just go do it. You know? And I'm going, well, I don't know. Well, we ended up, of course, telling Mom and Sharon, that we were going to race. Well, holy cow, that just every whole family wanted to be there and watch us race. Then, of course,
Yeah.
And so I'd never raced before, and like that little Fresno fairground was like maybe an 1/8 mile. It wasn't very big. It was, but I'd never ridden on anything so groomed.
Yeah.
I'd always ridden out in the hills.
Oh yeah.
I'd never ridden on even roads really, and I didn't know how to slide.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to really, set the bike up to go into a corner and slide the bike. I didn't know really how to. I had a bit more like a motocrosser where you just square up and accelerate out of the corner.
Yeah.
And not that I do that anymore. As I talk, I have to think, did that really happen? All the time now. But anyway, we ended up going to that race, and it was just, I'd never seen anything like it. It was like, for me, it was like going out on, the middle of some highway and racing around in a circle.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was a kidney shape. It was a scrambles track. So,
okay.
But it was very, very small.
Well, I was picturing an oval, so you're saying this wasn't oval, it was more of a B-shaped kind of thing? Had some curves to it?
A scrambles track back then had to curve into itself.
Oh, okay.
And so it was kidney bean shaped kind of.
Okay.
Like you go off the end of the straightaway, and then it would curve around like 50 degrees, and then, well, I don't even know. It'd be more than that, but it would curve around, and then you'd go straight down the infield, and then go into another curve out onto the straightaway. But anyway, so we go to that, and I'd never ridden on anything like that. That was just, I didn't even know how to ride anymore. I had to learn all over. And so first race, we got to the first corner. The guy in front of me fell down, and I tried to jump over him with the IT.
Oh boy.
And I thought, because I hit his rear wheel, and I just thought, I'm just going to launch over the top of him, because I just straightened up and went over him. And I don't know what that bike hooked on his bike, but it brought that IT to a stop. I mean, it threw me over the handlebars onto my shoulder, and so I dislocated my shoulder. And so my first race injury.
Oh wow. So that was your first race?
That was my very first race. And I got second because I just couldn't hang on the handlebars anymore. I entered the novice class, so that's really kind of Probably shouldn't have done that, but back then things were different too, Carl. On the AMA required you to start in the novice class, build up points.
Yeah.
You couldn't just say I'm an expert and go race expert.
Right.
You had to build up points. So I had to start in the novice class, which was, I was probably a good junior rider.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, and back then they wouldn't let you cherry pick like they do now, too. Probably, right? They would make you move up?
Yes, that's exactly right.
And the mentality is that you didn't want to be at the lower classes. You wanted to move up.
And
I remember racing motocross in the C class, or back then it was just the beginner class.
Oh, yeah.
And we were really good riders, and but there were some guys in there that were dangerous to ride around. They would just launch their bike at you.
Well, and that's what really disheartened me about when you guys are racing is the amount of cherry picking. We always had people like Joey, these I say older guys, but yeah, he was a national pro, and the AMA referee was there, and anybody was cheating, he would go to that referee and say, this guy is, not supposed to be here or doing this, that. And anymore, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
It's a free-for-all. I mean, as you know, I mean, you were talking about even riding the A class. Well, when you have the A class beating all but the top 3 pros,
right,
there's a bunch of cherry picking going on. So it's, and the AMA doesn't seem to care. They don't care about the cheating even. They say, well, if you give us $200, we'll look into it.
Yeah.
Well, you paid your membership.
Right.
That's their job, and yet they just left you to your own devices, and you just took the honorable way and just said, I'm just going to let it go. I'll make up for it. And so
yeah, they would have overturned it, but yeah, like you said, they wanted me to pay them $200 because the AMA guy actually contacted me about that cheating that happened, and he was like, it's factually just cheating. I can see that by looking at it. If you want to do the paperwork and submit $200, I'll take care of it. And I said, no, I don't. I really don't care that much.
Well, and so there you go, Carl. But and you talk about cutting a trail, and the guy just cuts straight across the field. Well, he didn't follow the course at all. I mean, right in front of the finish line where everybody was watching. I mean, you couldn't get any more obvious, and no one did anything. And a lot of these people are volunteers, as you know, like Lance is trying to get the Desert Rats going again. And
yeah, it's hard for volunteers to enforce that kind of stuff.
The volunteers aren't going to go confront this guy and get beat up over it, because the guy would say, I didn't cheat, and punch him in the face or something. Yeah. And I don't know. I just got no use for that kind of crap. I mean, it's supposed to be an honor system, and there's no honor there. Oh, anyway, so yeah, we had AMA referees at even our sportsman dirt track races. So, they kept track of everything. It was very well organized. And I forget what Ricky did on his 500, but I don't think, I may have just turned your...
as long as... I think that these GoPros, or they're not GoPros, but these action cameras are hard to turn off, really. You gotta really push on them.
Well, this helmet doesn't fit exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of falling down on my front of my face here. And
well, it's an extra large. I could have given you this medium.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's just I know to pick up on the side of the helmet now instead of doing that. So anyway, that was the first race, and boy, I had the bug then. I mean, my kid, as a kid, my brother and I had begged Dad to let us race, and oh God, he didn't work that hard for all that he had to have it all taken away by us killing somebody in racing. In fact, Joe Brown, called him several times because, telling on myself again, because we were wild, crazy, feral kids. My brother Rick and I, we rode to Paso Robles, and we took the railroad tracks and all these different places to get to Joe Brown's shop. And so we had, because all we wanted to do was race. That's all we talked about with each other and all we thought about. We're just racing, and girls once in a while, but we weren't going to get any girl action. So it was basically motorcycles was top of the list there. And so, we rode all the way to Paso Robles. And Browns had that track next to their house. They called it the Blood Bowl. Because
and that Brown's Joey's Yamaha shop with the Blood Bowl next to it.
Yeah,
that is now the Beta shop, right? That is still owned by the Browns.
Yes, David Brown inherited that.
Okay.
So it's funny. I knew David when he was just like the firstborn. Joey and Patty used to hang out with us. And anyway, so I just know. I look at him now and I think, oh my God, he's just he's your age.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of funny. But we went to the Browns. It's unbelievable for me. That's why I kind of hesitate to even. Did we really do this? But we happened to show up on a day. My dad was off hunting in Idaho. He was a long ways off, and we figured we'd get away with it and not have him kill us because he'd never find out. Or we never considered that Joe Brown might tell him. Yeah. And but Joe Brown never did. He never said a word.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he just. We went there. They had a bunch of guys riding around that Blood Bowl, and it was somewhat of a scrambles track, and they just kind of plowed it up and stuff. And there again, very nice conditions. And my bike was that little Yamaha was actually, it had a Git kit in it. So it was a Git kitted 125. And I guess, probably 18 horsepower, I think they rated it at. But back then, I felt like I was one with the motorcycle, like I couldn't fall down and I couldn't be hurt. And I could just do things that were unbelievable with it. Wheelie, I could slide. And I went around that track, and my brother and I both.
This is when you were in your teenage years, or when?
Yeah, I was probably 15, 16,
okay.
Maybe 16. Yeah, I was.
So you were riding around the Blood Bowl when you were 15, 16, and you didn't start racing until you were early 20s.
Yeah, I was probably 25.
Okay.
And so, anyway, we started racing around there because there was other people racing, and we just started passing everybody wholesale. I mean, we were just blowing by them, and they were, they were the shop's racers, really. And so pretty soon, everybody's sitting there watching us ride around the track. And I mean, I was just holding it wide open all the way around the track. You can imagine a bike that makes 18 horsepower at 10,000 RPM and 2 horsepower below that. Yeah. So you just hold it wide open.
Yeah.
And I was able to ride it that way. And race around that track, and I was a good rider. I mean, God, we just lived in the hills riding.
Yeah.
And pretty soon everybody's pulled off, and they're all watching us. And Joe came out. Everybody was sitting there watching us, and and I don't know, we made a few more laps, and of course gas was a problem too, because we had to go 30 miles back home. So anyway, I mean, that was that was a experience in itself.
Of course, those bikes probably would go a long ways on a gas tank full, knowing what I know about your IT and all the other old bikes.
Well, it was not like it was not like the IT. It was a Git kit. That was Yamaha's factory kit, a barrel piston. It had big ports. It was just made to make lots of horsepower, and you just had to ride it how it was. You know, it wasn't friendly at all. So yeah, it gobbled fuel. You open that throttle wide open and it was just sucking fuel. But anyway, we finally went back down and started talking to Joe Brown, because I didn't know the other guys, and they were those guys were all like number ones, and you know, they were in the running for champions in District 37 at the sportsman level, and we were we were passing them. And so Joe Brown, he asked me, he says, "Does your dad know you're here?" And I thought, oh shit, I didn't think about that. And I said, no, he doesn't. And he says, okay. But from there on, Joe Brown kept calling my dad, trying to get him to let us race. He says, I'll provide everything. I'll come pick them up. I'll come pick your kids up. Supply everything to them. Entry fees, everything. We'll sponsor them totally to race. And my dad, after about 2 or 3 calls, and Joe was a nice guy. I mean, he's putting it a nice way. He's trying to be nice.
Yeah.
And my dad, you know, he just got irritated. He didn't like motorcycles. He just kept telling Joe no, and Joe wouldn't take no for an answer. So my dad finally told him, he says, don't call me ever again on this. He says, boy, God, and he just blew up and started yelling at him on the phone. Well, I, of course, you know, it was all landlines then.
Yeah.
So that was the end of our even a chance at racing. Yeah. Until I was off on my own, and so well. Anyway, it was quite an experience, I'll tell you. And like your Uncle Ricky and stuff. My brother never raced. As you know, he ran away. Yeah. And ended up in Los Angeles and hid out for several years. Yeah. And his whole thing was bull tacos. So when he started riding down there, he gathered up these bull tacos. He had about 12 of them at some point. You know, these Sherpas and Persangs and stuff. He had a whole bunch of them, and that he loved bull tacos. But anyway, he never raced at all. Yeah. But he came to a couple of my races and watched. But anyway, yeah, Uncle Ricky, he did pretty good. He won a few races and stuff. He was a good rider. So you did your first race on the IT, right? Yes. Yeah. It was, you know, I stripped it down. I pulled the lights off of it, and of course, they required you to have a dirt track or a tire, so you didn't tear the track up, you know.
So, well, you still have the IT. I do. Think that's pretty cool. It's actually in pretty good shape. A lot of people in my comment section and on my emails told me that you couldn't take care of old bikes and have them last like you can now, and I beg to differ, because you got a whole garage full of bikes you bought brand new in the 60s and 70s.
You're exactly right. It just depends on the person, whether they wanted to or not. I mean, Yamaha required their dealers to stock parts for all their bikes. That's not a throwaway motorcycle. Yeah. These Chinese motorcycles are throwaways, where you buy the bike and the company disappears the next day. Yeah. And so that's, the difference there. Back then, the Japanese they were doing the best they could, and you could tell by the mid-70s there was no more European bikes.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall over here if I'm not careful. I mean, they outdid the Europeans with performance and also build quality. These bikes would last long times. I mean, try getting a Triumph to hold together or something,
Right.
where the crank's put together with a 2x4 with a little piece of metal on the end, and they pounded on it with a hammer. I mean, that's old world hand craftsmanship, but the Japanese didn't do that. They built stuff as best as they could make it. And yes, it was compared to nowadays, as I've said, using the Browns as an example. Joe Brown had a 1914 Indian, and when I was a kid, and I looked at that and I thought, how could anybody ride that? Oh my God,
Yeah.
But you think about it, in 1968 or 9, 66 when I started riding. Well, actually, 67, I guess it was, when that Trailmaster was new. But anyway, the difference between that Indian and these and my bikes back then are about the same as those bikes that I raced and rode compared to these.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like the difference is just incredible. They have, and a lot of it's too. I always say, well, they've made them too fast or whatever, blah blah blah, and too tall. But you know what? The manufacturers still make short bikes. You want a short bike? Just go buy a TTR.
Yeah, you can still get a TTR 125 or whatever you want.
Well, this is the thing, and I always, I never considered my 125 Enduro, my 1970, a small motorcycle. It was, I figured it was just a legit bike. I mean, even the 360s.
Well, it was back in that day.
The 360s weren't even that much bigger.
Yeah.
So it was a legit bike. It was what everybody raced.
Yeah.
And but nowadays, when I get on a TTR 125, it's about the same size.
Yeah, and even your IT 175 is so low to the ground.
Well,
it's got this big cushy seat. It's definitely the same era, same styles, but it's like right on the edge of when they started doing something else.
Yeah, it's right when they very first started trying to go the suspension route. They'd already started making pretty good horsepower by then.
Yeah.
See, I want to go.
Chassis hadn't
I
caught up.
want to see. I want to go up that hill, and I won't. So
Yeah.
anyway, well, I'll stay in the whoops on this beat-out trail if the government wants me to. So anyway, I remember Ed Heckman. He's never ridden in the dirt, really. He's tried a little bit. But he never has the basis for, as a kid, he never raced or anything like that like I did.
Right.
So I've tried getting go riding because we're kind of friends. And so we are friends. And so he'd got an X-Trainer. Well, the first thing he did was he bought a YZF or YZ450F. And then had David Brown hop it up.
Yeah.
And it's like he couldn't ride it. And I said, Dad, what are you doing? And
That's a beast.
Well, what are you thinking? I can't hardly ride the dang thing. And so, anyway, I finally talked him into getting an X-Trainer. Been perfect. Oil injection, nice, docile bike, it's low to the ground. Of course, Ed's got a pretty tall inseam, so he can touch on the tall stuff. But anyway, first thing you did is have David hop it up to where he couldn't ride it again, and it's just disheartening, because you got to learn to ride in the dirt before you, like you always say, you got to learn to ride slow before you can ride fast.
Yeah, it's true, and a lot of people, it's just a lack of experience. They ride on the street and they think that the same concepts apply to riding in the dirt.
No.
And they think they can hop up like on the street you would hop up a street bike and make it really fast, and it like adds some fun factor, and you're like, holy smokes, this is so fast, I can just lay on it on the straightaway, and it's a lot of fun.
You just point and shoot.
Yeah, and in the dirt, it's a far more chassis-based sport. That's why 125s are fine keeping up with a 450 in most cases. I could be on a 125 and go on a trail ride and be totally happy and keep up with pretty much all my friends. I mean, the engine size really isn't, I mean, the horsepower overall really isn't what you need. I mean, I take my 450 out and I never hardly use the power in that thing unless I'm in the sand washes. I mean, it's really carrying your momentum and operating the suspension and your clutch and your shifting and your body position. It's really, what kind of bike do you want underneath you when you start hitting rocks, or when you hit the whoops, or when you go down the idle and you have to crawl through something, or it's never about horsepower.
I think you're breaking up, Carl. Is your battery
really
out?
I don't know, this thing's acting kind of funky. It did that on the way up to the mountains. It did that for a little bit too.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you say, it could be just interference or something from the, terrain. But anyway, so yeah, I've always enjoyed riding motorcycles. I guess, needless to say, I don't need to tell you that. So,
well, you've definitely enjoyed riding motorcycles your whole life, just like me. I enjoy so many aspects of it. It will never get old. I mean, I think a lot of people go out to the desert and they ride around the parking lot. It's hot, dusty.
Yeah.
They just get to the point where it's just boring so quick. But you can go and get yourself a 2-stroke, 4-stroke. There's lots of different aspects just to working on a motorcycle, and then you can go out and ride a trail in the mountains and go and explore somewhere, or you can go to a motocross track and learn motocross or learn flat track, and then you can go out to the desert and do some higher speed stuff if you want. Motorcycles are just vastly different in a lot of ways, and there's no way I could ever get bored of riding a motorcycle.
No, I think, yeah, and that was what I was saying about Joey Brown, is it wasn't just one thing he did.
Yeah.
He would try to go to all the events he could. The only thing we didn't do was go to road racing or something, but we'd go watch Laguna Seca, and watch the highest level of road racing. But anyway, yeah, a person can, like I did this morning. I mean, that's what motorcycles are all about, is just exploring and going out and having fun and seeing new country and just having fun. It's just fun to ride. Not particularly down a road, but it just I got us on here. But yeah, it just I don't even care what kind of bike it is. To me, I could be riding a moped and it'd be fun,
Yeah.
As I told you about that guy commenting in Dirt Bike Magazine, that the fun factor is inverse to the amount of horsepower you have. So the more horsepower you have, I mean, it's thrilling.
Yeah.
It's thrilling, and it's it's scary. But it's not really fun. You can, you can go out on these little tiny bikes, and just the first thing you do on a TTR 125 is start smiling.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's just a blast.
Yeah, I like riding anything. I was just actually talking. I've talked about getting a Honda 90.
Oh no!
just for fun, just for putting around and doing like Honda 90 rides, or maybe getting together with people and doing miniature rides.
Sure.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. Kind of just to show people the fun of this sport, because I think that it's gotten really serious, and that's kind of one thing that's missing now is, everybody thinks they're Kenny Roberts now, and nobody actually is.
You're right. I started trying to go down that road. As far as the mentality of people back then, they were just into having fun, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Most people. I mean, you look at Malcolm Smith, he just had fun.
Yeah.
He was just happened to be fast. You know? And the same thing with a lot of those guys. Steve McQueen, any of them, they just had fun. Riding motorcycles. They just love riding motorcycles. And they were just happened to be fast. Oops. And so yeah, it's just a I mean, like you say, now everybody wants to be a freaking, supercross star or something right off the bat. And it's not the way it works.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed
you're going to get killed if you do that.
I've noticed it in enduro as well. People will start to get into riding enduro, and they don't travel anywhere. They don't explore. They don't even have fun. They just, and granted, this has produced riders now within this last 5 years that are amazing riders.
Of course, yeah.
But none of them ever travel anywhere. They just hit a rock formation over and over and over and over. And I'm like, all right. I mean, you're riding trials. That's fun, I guess. I mean, you could call that fun.
Well,
destroy your bike, but hard enduro is not everything. You don't. The reason you do hard enduro is so you can practice when you go out and have your adventure. That's what it's there for.
Yeah. Well, hard enduro is another animal. That's like a handful of people can even really do it. And everybody else is just destroying their bikes and testing their abilities for their own sake,
Yeah.
And so, oops, I guess.
I think they're just getting their dogs put up.
Yeah, I just didn't want to harm anything here. Yeah, they weren't liking this motorcycle thing too much, were they? Oh boy. Yeah, so I think a lot of people get really hurt. And you can put all the disclaimers you want on these videos and stuff saying, oh, these are done by professionals and everything. But you're always going to get the kids and stuff that go out and they buy a, full-on motocrosser and try launching 80-foot jumps without learning the basics of how to ride.
Yeah.
And they're going to get hurt really badly a lot of times.
Yeah, there's a skill level that I think a lot of people miss. I have to try, when I'm teaching people, to really reiterate that it's experience and time. And if you want to go out and have fun, you can go out and have fun at your skill level for a long time. Like right now, I don't remember the last time I went down. I mean, I don't crash because I'm well within my skill level, always. But you could also say that I'm not really trying to develop my skill then. But also, there's a lot of people that go out and they just demolish themselves over and over. And I've known guys like that are just like, they are lacking skill, but they'll just go out and do a 12 o'clock wheelie and rip their fenders off, and then they'll go out and totally go for it over these super enduro courses and just break all the plastic off their bike, and eventually they end up hurt.
Sure. And then they blame the motorcycle.
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, they do. They say, all those motorcycles are just too dangerous. Well, no, it's just a machine. You're the dangerous part. Yeah, this bike right here will go at walking speed. I just choose to go 10 right now. But, so... Well, and that's what's been lost since when I was a kid, is that fun factor. People have just stopped having fun, and they can say they have fun, but they're always visiting the emergency room or getting knee replacements or shoulder replacements because they're trying to prove something. Well, what are you doing? You're not riding your motorcycle to go have fun and explore like what we're doing right now. I mean, it's kind of fun just to putt along and not really have to be anywhere anytime. Well, we got to be there by dark probably. It's just, otherwise, you know what I mean. And it's been kind of disheartening because I thought I could just get on a motorcycle and ride anything. I always have. And by the time you get to be 60, you can't do... There's guys who do. Now, there's anomalies like Graham Jarvis or these other guys that can still go pretty fast. But generally, when I got to be about 60, I could tell a big difference that in my reflexes and my ability to stay in shape and to be able to analyze the terrain quickly. It has to be an instinct. You can't think about it. And I've lost that. So, I mean, I have to ride accordingly now. I could just wide open here and try to impress you. Look how fast Dad's going, and then I do endos down the trail, and you got to take me to the hospital or something. Yeah. The thing is, what people don't understand or don't think about is, if you're going to really go to a level where you're crashing your brains out, you better be making some money. You better be at a level to where you're one of these super fast guys that are factory level, and there's not very many. So it's not worth it. I mean, it's just, I don't know what people are thinking, really. I know, I guess when I was a kid, I was pretty tunnel vision as far as that goes. And when I started wanting to race, I just wanted to race. But that being said, I did go out and trail ride, and I like to trail ride as well. Sure, if I go and train and I get in physical shape, and yeah, you can get better, but you're not going to get to the point where it's just like it was before. And I took probably a 10-year break, really, because of all that went on. And it just, if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have got back even riding motorcycles, to tell you the truth. I mean, you got me back out riding again, and I thought, well, I'm just going to get out and I'm going to ride. Well, the first thing I do is start falling down, because I couldn't. For one thing, like you say, I wasn't used to the long suspension bikes particularly. Well, it was having problems. The crank bearings are spinning on the shoulders of the cases. I got to get it repaired by a machine shop. But, that's how many years of running against the red line, spinning the bearings in the cases. Yeah, well, you're a better rider than I am, and better than I've ever been, really. And so, yeah, you're going faster, and at speed, you don't really notice it. It's just when you get off and you're starting to try to do hard enduro or just follow a cow trail, then you're going to notice it. But like I showed you, what do we got here? I don't want to go that way. Well, I think that goes up that hill, though. We need to go out that way.
His name is RacerRed. If he wasn't riding, he'd be in bed. He naps during the day. He rides his love from garage bays. Oh, he rides all night. and subscribe.